All right, Shalom. Before I get started, I want to give all praises, honor, and infinite glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And also peace and safety to the Akim that spread across the four corners of the world. That's pushing out this truth with all diligence and putting their lives on the line to do so. I'm the brother Karatz out here at Great Millstone, Atlanta. Back here with another lesson, going into the topic of the people mourning. The world, is really hurt right now. Gas, is high. Bills, are high. Jobs are paying, less. But inflation is continuing to rise. So the people, are in a state of mourning. Of course they try to hide it with entertainment, events, like little outings or whatever. Just for instance, in Atlanta, it's had a 404 day, basically to celebrate Atlanta. But, it's only momentarily, man, that these things, that you can try to cover up, how you really feel in Babylon, man. And mainly because people don't, like to accept reality, so they brag and boast as if, there's something, but really, everybody is hurt right now, So I'm going to start off with Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2. And it says what? When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. And who are the righteous? Starting with Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai and the elect, of Israel, which consists of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. So when the righteous are in authority, the people are going to rejoice. It says, but when the wicked bear the rule, the people mourn. All right, and that's what these people are doing right now, man. They're mourning. They're crying. But they're not crying out to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Their complaints are going to other idols. They're committing suicide. Worshiping Caesar Borgia. Going into hella debt. And it's going to continue that way until the Lord, makes that transition of power. And it's going to get worse. Matter of fact, let me get that. In the book of Daniel, chapter 12 and verse 1. And it states, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. Yeah, Michael, one of the four archangels, is going to be fighting, against, these enemy nations, man. Starting with America, And it says, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. Yeah, so it's going to be a time of trouble, man. Like no other trouble that's been seen before. We speak of these wars, that's been happening, that has happened, and the amount of death, that happened in the midst of these wars that we speak of. But this go around, it's going to be like a time that was never seen before, man. So the mourning isn't, isn't going to stop, right now, man. It's soon to come. When you read, what's that, Revelation, the 21st chapter, You know, when it says the Lord, you know, is going to wipe away tears. You know. But for now, hey, you people are going to continue to mourn. You know. Especially when Esau snatches away, you know, these so-called privileges, you know, that he's granted you, you know, such as, you know, just being your everyday American citizen, man. You know, going to these events, you know, basketball games, football games, you know, being able to go home, you know, flop on the couch and cut your TV on. You know, those things are soon to come to an end. You know, it's gonna be all hell out here, man. Why? Because the wicked are in authority. You know, the wicked being the so-called white man. You know, he's bringing that pressure, you know, to these other, you know, countries, to where it's gonna implement World War III, in which we are already in the stages, you know, of that happening, man. All right, it ain't no turning back from here. You know, buckle up your seatbelt. Okay, the Lord's turning up that heat. You know, the prophecy of the beast hating the whore is unraveling. You know, the Lord is gathering, you know, these other countries, you know, and American troops over in the Middle East, you know, the Valley of Jehoshaphat, you know. So major prophecies are taking place right now, showing the signs of the end, you know, showing that our apostles and the elders have been right this whole fucking time, man, you know, in which these people didn't want to believe. You know, excuse me for my language, but let me grab this precept in the Apocrypha. Sirach chapter 10, I'll start at verse 3. It says, an unwise king destroyeth his people. Yeah, man. An unwise king, the wicked. You know, it destroys his people. You know, if Esau was smart, he would have built his empire for the benefit of the people and not just for the benefit of himself. You know, starting with these elites, man. You know, the Rothschilds and Rockefellers. You know, they didn't build America for the benefit of the people. You know, it was all for them. You know? It says, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that's profitable. Yeah, the Lord is going to set one over that's profitable, man. You know? That what you were able to receive, you know, certain benefits, and you know, and I'm speaking to the nation of Israel, you know, first and foremost, because the nation of Israel is going to be the head. You know, like I said in the beginning, starting with Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, you know, and the elect on down. You know, that's the transition of power. When you read 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter and the 9th verse, man. All right, that's what we're going into, man. All right, your everyday lives is going to continue to be as such, you know. But until then, you know, the mourning is going to continue, the weeping is going to continue, the crying out is going to continue, man. You know, and it's rightly so for some of you people, you know, outside of the elect, because the elect has already been crying out to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, you know, asking for forgiveness and, you know, seeing the state, the conditions of this place, You know, paying attention to the prophecies. You know, but you people don't pay attention to that until something happens, man. You know, so the Lord's gonna put that spirit on you to cry out. You know, he really is not even gonna have to put the spirit on you to do it, because you're gonna be seeing the things that death is gonna be surrounding you. You know, so I just wanted to briefly touch on that. You know, Lord willing, you know, this lesson was edifying. I'm gonna go ahead and close up. You know, by giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rachah Kodash. I want to say double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And until the next time, Shalom.